Let's talk about Credence by Penelope Douglas. I know I'm about 5 years late, but this book has all those naughty little tropes that I like. So going into it, I was very excited. Unfortunately, I did not stay excited for too long. So let's break down why. So first of all, let's start with the tropes. Now, before we go into this, I just want to put a disclaimer that I am very well versed in dark romance, forbidden romance, age gap, taboo, all that jazz. So going into Credence, I knew the basic premise, which is a barely legal girl with her step-uncle and step-cousins. Sounds juicy, right? You'd think so. But while the premise was exciting, the delivery just was not it. Right, so let's talk about the main characters. We've got our main female character, Tiernan. I think that's how you pronounce her name anyway. Now, she's 17 when we meet her. The girl grew up with a lot of money, but she's got no emotional connections with her parents, who seem to kind of hate and just resent her. So, yeah, our girl Tiernan's got some issues, and I feel for her. I really do. I don't necessarily hate her. She's obviously young and impressionable and like a typical dumb teenage girl who doesn't know how to make better choices. But hey, we've all been 17, so I can't really blame her. Then there's her step-uncle Jake, who is the stepbrother of her father. Jake hates Tiernan's parents, who, by the way, at the beginning of the book, they killed themselves. So yeah, there's that. So anyway, Jake hates Tiernan's parents because they pretty much ruined his life. And let me just also add that Jake and Tiernan are meeting for the first time when the book starts. They've not ever known each other. He did not watch her grow up. There's no familiar relationship at all, which to me feels like a bad attempt to try and make this romance taboo, but it falls flat immediately because they literally don't know each other. It's not really taboo because on paper they are technically family, even though they are not related and they never knew each other until now. So I feel like it just really removes that whole taboo out of the taboo romance. Jake has two sons, who would be Tiernan's step-cousins, Kaleb and Noah. Now, where do I even start with this? Let's start with Noah because he's actually somewhat normal. He's a little older than Tiernan and he kind of hates his life and he clearly has issues with his father and their relationship is not that great. Now enter the mess that is the older brother, Kaleb. Kaleb, bloody hell, I don't even know where to find the words to describe this creature. First off, Kaleb doesn't speak, like at all. He stopped speaking when he was 4 due to an incident with his mother, who is in prison, by the way. But not only does he not speak, he just acts like an animal, like a caveman, Neanderthal, feral thing. I don't like Kaleb at all, okay? There's nothing appealing or sexy about him. Maybe he is meant to be the damaged and brooding bad boy that steals our hearts, but he didn't. He's creepy and gross and weird, and not the sexy kind of creepy, gross, and weird. So Tiernan meets her Uncle Jake and cousin Noah, but she doesn't meet Kaleb until later because he is literally out in the woods hunting, okay? So the first time she encounters him, he literally assaults her. Now, the way this was written was very confusing. I had to reread it to make sure what I was reading was correct. At first, it looked like he full-on assaulted her, which like, the P in the V kind of assault. But upon closer inspection, it appears that maybe there was no penetration because later she loses the V card to the uncle, which that whole scenario we must talk about. And not for the reasons you might think, but we will get there. Hold on. Now, back to Kaleb. It wasn't very clear from the writing how far he actually went, but I mean, what he did was still assault. He just didn't get it, like, in there, if you know what I mean. But even so, that is a wildly traumatizing thing for a 17-year-old girl to experience. Just how he is described, like some Neanderthal literally covered in blood and carrying a dead animal across his shoulders. And she's actually into it at that moment. Like, girl, I know you have issues, but no. It was just the way he was described as looking in that scene. It was nasty. But then the aftermath of that was nothing. Like, nothing at all. She wasn't really afraid of him. She didn't tell her uncle or cousin what happened. And she didn't seem particularly bothered. But by what happened? Like, girl, are you right? And the worst part is that this book is Tiernan and Kaleb endgame. Yeah, they literally end up together, which was bonkers to me. Absolutely bonkers. Oh, and that's after she loses her V card to the uncle. But she also bumps uglies with Noah. Oh, but wait, she actually did the nasty with Noah and Kaleb, like, a nice little three-way. But anyway, I digress. This thing with Kaleb, it just did not make sense to me. I can see how she would be drawn to her uncle, because, girls got daddy issues. So in my mind, that made sense. And I even see the appeal about Noah. He's the closest in age to her, and he's not all that bad, actually. He clearly has daddy issues too, and a couple of mommy issues, but he seems like an okay guy given the circumstances. And I know a lot of people didn't like the emotional manipulation and abuse of Tiernan by him and Jake, but I actually didn't mind that because that's what's to be expected in these dark romance books. I mean, come on. We all know going into these books that these men can be toxic as hell and problematic and downright awful. But for Jake and Noah, that whole thing, it kind of worked, in my opinion, anyway. What absolutely did not work for me was the relationship with Kaleb. Like, I'm sorry, how did that even happen? I was revolted by the man simply because he was described like some sort of animal, okay? He fucks, he eats, and he hunts. He doesn't speak. It was weird and it was creepy. Not to mention that there's no build-up between these characters, okay? Nothing that shows how the relationship evolves and why she ended up falling in love with him. There's some explanation about her deeper emotions, about all the issues and the shared trauma they have, blah, blah, blah. But it still didn't work. It wasn't enough to convince me that these two people would fall in love. I just felt nothing. They end up falling in love, but all he did was assault her. He hit her, he spat in her face and called her a slut. Maybe if we had his point of view to see his spiraling obsession, it would make more sense. But it just I didn't feel it. I would have much rather she end up with Noah or even Jake, damn it. Like, even the uncle is a better option than that grunting caveman that clearly hates her. And let's not forget that he licked blood of a fucking deer that he had just killed off his finger. Now listen, I get it. Blood kinks exist, okay? I don't even particularly mind them. But animal blood? That's one I have not read before. And I loudly proclaimed my disgust. Like, fucking ew, man. Okay, so now let's talk about Tiernan losing her V card, alright? The way it is described and how she later recounts it, it just didn't add up. I feel like it was rather rough for her first time, and yet later she said that he was good to her. Oh, and also, right after they finish, like the first time they finish, she's just ready for round 2. Like, I'm sorry? What? If you're a woman who has had sex, you'd know that there's nothing great about your first time. It hurts and it's kind of messy and it's something extremely intimate and something that will alter your brain chemistry. But you're not going to be up for a round 2 right after. And also, she mentions doing it 5 times in 24 hours, right after losing the V card. No, girl. What? Now, listen, I don't know how long these sessions of theirs lasted. Maybe Noah's a 3-minute man? Then yeah, I suppose 5 times in 24 hours is not that unrealistic. But I'm sure it was longer than that. The girl just lost her virginity, okay? Does it twice in a row, her first time, and then proceeds to do it 3 more times, all in the span of 24 hours. I am very well versed in smut, okay? I've read a lot of smut, and one thing that bugged me about this book was the fact that sometimes it just didn't make sense. When you're writing a scene like that, you need to make sure all the body parts and positions are accounted for, all right? Positions and locations of the people, they are so important, all right? You can't have her pushed forward and bent over one moment, and while he's railing her, suddenly cupping her face in his hands. That suggests that he's now somehow in front of her. Like what? Did bro just apparate mid-thrust? Only if you're a character in Harry Potter fanfiction, perhaps. My guy, But no, many smut scenes in this book just didn't make sense. So much so that I had to stop and go back and check again. Like, what's happening? How did he? Where did he? How is she? Wasn't she face down? Like, I don't know. Like, it didn't make sense, and it pulled me out of the scene completely, which is a shame, you know. I'm here for the taboo smut, and now I'm just left feeling confused. Now, these two boys, they had clear intentions with this girl. Now, at this point, she is 18. She had just turned 18 when Uncle, you know, made sure he got up in there. And he actually caught her with the boys, about to get it on, and he stopped them. And then shortly after that, he fucked her. So anyway, he knows that these boys have very clear intentions with her. And you would think that since he's the one banging her, he would be a little more protective, a little more possessive of her, take more precautions to try and keep her away from his two unhinged sons. But no, he straight up leaves her alone with them. Like, he leaves the house. He goes up into the mountains to the other cabin or whatever the hell it was. So, of course, what happens? They fuck her. Yup, they fucked her. And Tiernan, my girl, for a now 18-year-old who just lost her virginity, she seems to be pretty, I don't know. She just comes across as very experienced. And again, the way the threesome smut is described and written, it left me with more questions than answers. Now, of course, here we definitely have some taboo aspect, finally, you know, coming along. You know, the two blood-related brothers having a threesome with a girl. And while the two brothers, they don't get it on, it's still quite wild to, you know, do that with a girl, with your brother. But of course, this is meant to be taboo, and I'm actually here for it. In fact, I'll go as far as to say I'm slightly disappointed that all three of them, you know, father and sons, didn't like gangbang her together. That's something I would expect from a dark romance taboo novel. But no, what happens instead? She stops sleeping with all of them just because she's in love with Kaleb suddenly. How? I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know. I can't recall the moment that she started to have feelings for this dude. I think it was the first time he pushed her down and tried to rape her. I don't know. Now, of course, we have the somnophilia kink and the dubious consent / non-consent tropes, you know, sticking their heads out, which is fine. That's what we're here for. Is it not? You know, the dark side of romance. I'm here for it. Absolutely. But the whole thing just fizzled out for me. And the longer I read, the more I started to feel like this just did not deliver at all. And listen, I'm all for red flag fictional men, but I have to feel it. I have to feel that discomfort in the pit of my stomach because, oh my God, this guy is so problematic. But daddy, I love him. With Kaleb, I did not feel this. I just hated him. And then he throws away her birth control. She's 18, my man. What the fuck? Just go ahead and ruin her life. And she actually tried to get pregnant. Like, girl, you dumb. Go to therapy. So, by the end, she leaves. She goes back to California. And then one day, my man's, he shows up and suddenly he's speaking. And they're in love and they have a son together. And her and Kaleb and Noah and Jake are all a happy little family. And everyone just seems to forget about how she fucked all of them. It's like it's not even a big deal, which maybe makes sense if you consider that they all, you know, need therapy. I don't know. All in all, I don't think I liked this book. I was dying to finish it because I just wanted it to be over. The writing just was not my cup of tea, and I feel like it had so much more potential to be so much darker, so much more taboo than what it was. And I felt nothing for these characters, nothing at all. If all of them died in an avalanche or a house fire, I promise you, I would not have batted an eyelid. And it's a shame because this book was actually my first by Penelope Douglas, but now I feel like I don't want to touch any other of her books. And I have seen some of her books floating around on the internet, people recommending them, but I've also seen people recommend Credence, and it just was not the book for me. I needed more. I needed so much darker. I needed so much more taboo. The way it was hyped up, it just fell flat and it was completely disappointing. But again, that's just my little opinion. So what do you guys think? Have you read this book? What do you think of this whole relationship with Kaleb? How she ended up choosing him? I actually feel like I wish she had ended up with Noah. I feel like that would have been the healthiest thing for both of them. And while I do feel like Noah never truly loved her, he just loved the idea of what she represented, I still feel like there was more potential for them. Or maybe my girl just had to, ditch all of them, move away, reflect on her, what happened to her when she was 17 and then turned 18. So anyway, what book would you guys suggest that I read next? Something, give me dark, give me taboo, give me forbidden romance, give me all of the things that I could find on AO3. Okay, this is what I'm after. I'll just go back to AO3, I guess. Anyway, guys, let me know. Until next time, bye.